If should they have. So how do these work? You push it in and then push it down.
Brett, watch the car.
There we go. Oh man.
Watch for these guys.
Spill-proof jugs, spill gas like crazy.
Hey everyone, I'm going to go off a little bit here on a bit of a rant. There's a very specific kind of frustration that comes from being told, we're doing this for your own good. Not because you asked, not because there was something clearly broken, but because someone decided that you needed to be protected from yourself. And that's basically the nanny state at work. Now, sometimes this nanny state problem shows up in big obvious ways. Other times it just sneaks into the most mundane everyday parts of life. Today we're talking about one of the most irritating examples that I know of, and that is gas can nozzles in the United States. This is not a massive political issue. This is not a crisis. But this is one of those regulations that quietly drives people crazy every single time they use it. As a reminder, I am a U.S. citizen who was born and raised in the U.S., but I live in Canada now. I have a passport from both countries. I pay taxes in both countries, so I get to complain about both countries. Now, if you've ever used a U.S. gas can to fill a lawnmower, generator, dirt bike, boat, or a car gas tank, you know what I'm talking about. That so-called leak-safe gas can nozzle that requires pushing, twisting, pressing, tilting, and holding everything at just the right angle. And despite all that effort, it goes glug, 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 and ends up spilling gas just like the old ones did. Now, where did this start? Well, it started where all regulations in the U.S. start, California. In the early 2000s, California regulators identified that portable fuel containers are a source of evaporative emissions. The concern was that the gas vapors are escaping into the atmosphere from the vented gas cans. So California mandated new designs: self-sealing nozzles, no open vents, spring-loaded valves, and the intent was to reduce emissions and fuel loss. On paper, it sounded reasonable, but in practice, it turned a simple container into a mechanical obstacle and a source of frustration for many.
Plenty of complaints are coming in about the new spill-proof gas can.
Even the manufacturers aren't happy about the new changes.
The new spill-proof gas cans, hardly leak-proof. And just when you think you've figured out the new spout, leaks again.
I remember when these cans first showed up in California, I hated them immediately. Not because I didn't understand the intent, but as the result was obvious the first time I used it. These things don't work, and I end up spilling more gas every time. Now, I had to fill up, for instance, EU 2000 generators back then, and they would have a little basket in there to catch any dirt, and that meant that I could never get the nozzle in far enough to actually trigger the spring device, and I'd have to pull it back by hand, and it just was a mess. I'd get gas all over my hands. And trying to hold the weight of the can and line up the nozzle to activate the spring mechanism, it almost always guaranteed I was going to spill some little bits of fuel on the generator. In general, it just was messy, and I would get all over my hands. And I would stand there thinking, this is supposed to be better? And this was my introduction to these leak-safe gas cans. I've never seen them improve from there. They've only gotten worse. Once California implemented it, the rest of the country followed. The federal standards eventually aligned with California's approach. Manufacturers retooled, the retailers adjusted, and basically over time, the old-style gas cans just disappeared from the shelves nationwide. Not because consumers wanted them gone, not because they are inherently unsafe. They were just no longer legal to sell for emissions reasons. And that's how this California-specific regulation became a nationwide annoyance all over the states. Now, why do people hate them? These nozzles were designed to prevent spills and emissions, but in real-world use, many people end up just spilling more gas than they ever did before. So what do people end up doing? Well, they drill vent holes in them, or they'll just poke with their knife a little hole in the end. They'll remove some of the spring parts off the nozzles. They'll buy aftermarket spouts off of eBay or Amazon.com. These nozzles are now contraband. When large numbers of normally law-abiding people are modifying a safety product just to make it usable, that tells you something's wrong. Some people use the racing fuel jug workaround. That's these tough jugs and similar types of jugs. And yes, they're really popular with the off-road crowd, the dirt bike riders, side-by-side owners, and people hauling gear in the back of the truck. They pour quickly, they're simple, they work. But there's an important distinction that needs to be made here. Technically, those racing-style fuel jugs are not legally certified to be transporting gasoline on the public roads or highways of the United States. Even though they're made from heavy-duty materials, they generally lack the DOT and EPA certifications that are required for consumer fuel containers. They're only really supposed to be used off-road and on closed courses. Now, how you're supposed to get gas into them by not take them on the road, I'm not quite sure how that works, but because people use them, they work well. This is a gray area when they're used on public roads. I'm guessing if you get the wrong cop, you might get a ticket for it. And if you get into an accident, you can expect that if the insurance company finds out you were transporting those jugs full and there was a fire, well, they're always trying to get out of paying you. So this brings me to an important point. Recently, there's been a lot of regulatory rollbacks with the Trump administration. Diesel rules have been rolled back, CAFE standards are getting changed, the emission targets are getting changed. They're pushing them out up here as well. And regardless of where you land politically, there's been a clear push of rollbacks from the current administration in both countries to roll back some of these regulations as overly burdensome, ineffective, or simply moving too fast. And this raises the question, if we're willing to change these massive, complex rule structures, can't we just go out there and pull back the gas can requirements? This regulation irritates nearly everyone who has to use a gas can down there. It encourages unsafe workarounds and people breaking the law, and basically it increases the likelihood there's going to be spills rather than reducing them. You're not protecting people from themselves. You're ignoring how people are using these products and making it impossible for them to use them. And when there's this contrast, it's impossible for people to ignore.
Really the only gas jug they have, so it has everything. So how do these work? You push it in and then push it down. This is going to take before freaking out. We're going to stab this with your knife.
Brett, walk the car.
Oh man. Okay, you're going to have to stab this one too.
Right, I don't mean to get all political, but these gas jugs, they have spilled more gas in 10 years than all the other gas jugs on the planet in the last 100 years. And now we have this. That's my political rant. Spill-proof jugs, spill gas like crazy.
Now, if you come up here into Canada and you go into a hardware store or a gas station, you're going to notice that our gas cans, well, they have a normal spout. No spring-loaded mechanisms, no forced alignment exercises, no fuel running down the side. And when an American sees this, like I did when I moved up here, I was like, wait, you can just buy old-fashioned cans and just pour the gas? Yes, you can. And somehow, despite us not having this emission rule on our gas cans, the country has managed to function okay. Now, this isn't about one country being better than the other at all. It's about different regulatory philosophies and different assumptions about how much protection is actually needed. And to be honest, when we're talking about nanny state stuff, Canada is usually leading the charge relative to the United States in the world of being a nanny state. But for RVers, because this is an RVer channel, this is not a hypothetical problem down there. Generators, auxiliary tanks, ATVs, chainsaws, snowblowers. These are tools used in the outdoors. These are used in awkward conditions at times. Often you just want the job done. When you have something that's using gas and it runs out of gas, you usually just want to get gas in there fast, and you don't want to be futzing around with some kind of safety mechanism on some kind of overthought gas can. When simple equipment becomes unnecessarily frustrating, it affects real people doing real things. And I'll tell you, once you have to experience going back and forth between those two gas cans, the difference stands out immediately. The old school gas cans are just way better and way more effective. Now again, this is not the biggest issue facing RVers or the world, but it's a perfect example of what happens when regulation becomes disconnected from real world use. Good intentions, poor execution. Decades of frustration. And hopefully someday somebody will look back at this and say, we probably overthought that one, and roll it back. But until then, Americans are going to keep wrestling with and cussing at their gas cans. And Canadians will just keep pouring gas the way it's been done for decades, and it's probably going to be done for decades more. Now, do these gas cans frustrate you, or am I just blowing this way out of proportion? Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about this. I've seen all kinds of YouTubers get really, really mad at these containers, which is why I keep thinking about it, because I keep watching them deal with it. I don't have to deal with it anymore, but I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this. Thanks for watching, and as always, get busy living.